Okay, welcome back. We're going to do the second pass of this project today. We've had a pretty decent first pass put down, but we need to get it just so. And this is the phase in which we're going to be using a lot of the new tools and effects that we've covered in the previous module. Now, before we dive right in, just a little disclaimer first. I've been having crashing and freezing issues with the face refinement effect. So if you find that this happens to you, you are going to have to Control-Alt-Delete and shut down Resolve manually. Because of that, what I recommend you do for now is that you manually save the project before you apply any face refinement effects to this project. Okay, you can never be too careful. It's likely to be ironed out later on. It is still an open beta version of 16. So we'll just have to tread lightly. So we've got a few yellow flags. Broadly, things are in the right place. We're going to go through now, make sure the skin is nice, make sure the jacket is the right shade of yellow throughout, all of that good stuff. So let's go back and we'll take a look at this. So this shot should take a face refinement effect reasonably well. Let's take a look and see what happens. Remember, if you want to see the overlay for the face refiner, you want to have Open FX Overlay open down here, and then the first step of a face refinement is to hit Analyze. Okay, that doesn't look super... that looks okay. And then at the start, for some reason, it goes a bit crazy. Let's take a look at the skin mask and see what we can see. Okay, that doesn't look like it might cause too much issue. Let's just see what happens. So if I boost the contrast a little... Tell you what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make the effects super obvious and then we can see any kind of... Alright. I'm going to leave the mid-tone alone, but I can raise the contrast slightly. We can see the effect that has, and it's not perceptible when it moves. But if I see the before and after, we have a nice little sharpening effect. We have some odd colours on the face here, and that's due to the kind of cool light and the lens flare effect from the reflection on the glasses and the lens flare from these practical lights up here. So what we can do, I can do a little bit of shine removal. And you see how in this case shine removal either makes these highlights super obvious or can calm them down. I'm going to calm them down just a little bit. Maybe like 0.35. Eye retouching. Now, with the face refiner, it's still a work in progress pretty much. It doesn't like three-quarter face views very much, and it really does struggle when only one eye is visible. Because of this, if you've got only one eye visible, if they're at a three-quarter angle, do not use eye retouching, because if we do, let's just take a look at our overlay. You see how the eye is actually behind the nose? If I whack up the brightening of the eyes, you'll see that it's not intelligent enough to know that our eye has disappeared behind the nose, and the glasses here are making sure that it doesn't actually get the eyes in the right place anyway. So I am not going to be using any eye retouching controls on this, and we're going to use eye touching controls sparingly throughout because they are the weakest part of the face refiner. It bugs me that they don't let us blur out the windows around the eyes very much. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to do forehead, cheek and chin, and then a bit of a global blend. Possibly a bit of beauty, although there's not actually any kind of high contrast details on there which are distracting. I think I'm just going to go for forehead, cheeks and chin. And I need to take a look at how that changes at the start when the analysis is not very good as well. So we've got our basic grade there. Lip. How accurate is the lip analysis? Okay, it's pretty good, but it moves. What we can do is we can just change the hue of the lips. It does that jumping thing again. Smooth upper lip. He's got a mustache. That ain't going to do anything. Okay, that's slight. So first thing we're going to do, forehead. Forehead, as we remember, is more white or yellow, and at the moment it's pink because of the funny effect of the lighting here. So we're going to slide it back over. Let's just take a look at, yeah, there we are. So So I'm going to kill the saturation ever so slightly, and I'm going to rotate it back towards yellow. And then we just have a little bit more yellow whiteness there. His cheeks are a bit yellow, and his chin's a bit yellow as well, so I'm going to red up the cheeks ever so slightly. So we can just... if I notice too much. I find that if I click and drag the numbers, it glitches and jumps to the maximum value, so we should stick to... there we go. It's very slight, but it's still there. You see now how there's just a little bit more variation, and I might just take the saturation down. Whoops. 0.065, and we'll have that 0.15. And again, it's just a very slight, very subtle hint of variation in the hue there. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and take care of this magenta afterwards as well. And then chin. We want chin to be a bit blue or grey, and we don't want it to be very colourful, so I'm gonna... and there's a slight touch of green in the beard down there. And now we can see we've got a nice subtle effect. What I need to do is check if there's any visible artifacting at the start when the analysis is weak, and it doesn't look like it to me. Cool. This shot needs some noise reduction, but NR is a third pass thing, so we'll come back to that later on. Okay, I'm quite happy with that nice little bit of skin retouching, just a bit more contrast, a little bit more variation in hue. This purple-blue stuff is bugging me now, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to further tweak this. So you can see we've got a blue spill down the cheek and blue in the lens. The lens is always going to look a bit off, so we have to do a separate thing for the lens, but if I just drag this down here, you'll see now that that blue has vanished. And we've got a bit of red in the lens, and I can make a secondary for the lens fairly easily. So what I will do, we'll make a new node there. Then we'll denoise it and clean white, and then we'll clean black as well. And then all we need to do, push it a little bit more towards yellow to get a bit more skin colour. And there we go, and now we've got no more wonky kind of flare artifact in the glasses. That's gone, and now we've just got a little bit of defringing, which this isn't F55, although I've found having to defringe like this is very common with an Arri Alexa, I should say. So defringing, we've got these little halos here. They can be nice, but they do look a bit jarring and a bit distracting here, so we just need to try and pull a secondary around these and calm them down. Let's just take a look. There we go. So, final thing, need to take a look at defringing. So I'm going to pick that kind of, there we go. Now, these are fairly bright and fairly saturated, so they should be reasonably easy to key out, and they're a very specific range of colours. We'll open up the low and open up the low. Tell you what is helpful here is if we change the IO and make things a little bit bigger as well, and then blur it out. I want to be careful of making these highlights too black and white So let's just see how that goes. So now we don't want to make them black and white, we just want to kind of subdue them slightly. Maybe rotate the hue, make them a little bit more skin tone. So when we zoom right in, they're still a little bit off about them, but at normal magnification, that's fine. We've got a little bit of pink down there in the teeth, which is probably the lip correction. So I'm going to go back into face refinement and just get rid of any lip correction I've done. Oh, I see. Okay, so the teeth. Go a little bit as well. Okay, so one more. We just need to make sure that those teeth are not as pink. I don't want to make the lips black and white, but just want to... Okay. Okay, might have to change that secondary in that case, because if it's hitting the lips as well, what I need to do that I should not need. So I'm going to do my curve adjustment in here instead. And then I'll have to tweak this. Okay, there we go. And now what I can do is I can cut a gap out on the teeth down here, stop them from going wrong from the previous skin grade. Okay, so there we have something better. Now this looks a little bit yellow down here. Okay. It's always a bit of trial and error. Okay, cool. Let's just check. Okay, that's the lens. And that's the defringe, and I've got the lip mask in there. Okay, so this shot is now looking pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start using compound nodes to collapse everything. So I've done my basic skin, but now I've done a lot of complicated stuff on the face. I'm happy with the way this is. I'm not going to come back and change this now. I'm pretty satisfied. So what I am going to do is I am going to make a compound node, which makes it much easier for me to keep everything in check. And I will then go ahead. I can also go, oh, what's the difference I've made to the face? And go, right, so it was there, and now it's there, which I think is an improvement. I like the forehead. I like getting rid of the flare in the glasses. I like getting rid of the fringe. I like killing that highlight ever so slightly. So that's the difference we've made to the face, which I think is good. So last little thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add a bit of a vignette. And nothing new here. This guy doesn't need any beauty work either. So I'm just going to add a little bit of a gradient in this highlighty bit back here, and I'm going to leave the left side of the frame alone. And all I need to do is bring my highlights down, obviously making this inverted. And just bring it down a little bit so that we are focused on this guy and not this bright patch in the background. And I'm going to say that that's fine. So I like the blue, I like the face, I like the background. This is going to be simple. It's really just a matter of fixing and matching up the blue. I'm now going to put a green flag on here. Remember the old green flag process? It's just going to keep going like this. We're going to go through each shot, fix it up, get the match just so, and all that good stuff. So next shot, now that I've done that, I'm going to save. Been doing this for a good few minutes, don't want to lose any progress, especially if the face refiner starts to throw a fit. So let's just see how these two cut together. That needs some work, which we'll do later. I think those two cut together pretty well, because we've now got to focus on the orange skin tone. The very yellow stuff here jars me a little bit. I'm going to make it just a little bit redder. There we go. Nice kind of red tungsten light effect. Now just the kind of lemon yellow thing didn't hit quite right. I'm going to go back and give that another look. And now there we've maintained our red and orange as opposed to red and yellow. When it comes to this jacket, we're still going to make things very yellow and colourful, but it's for the skin, it's fine, and we just want to keep that kind of general feel of the colour between these two shots. This shot I will come back to later. It's going to be a lot of work to roto all of that. So I'll come back later. Now, this shot is not a good fit for the face refiner because it starts off screen and the face refiner doesn't like that. So we're not going to use any, well, we are going to use some OFX, but we're not going to use the face refiner for this just yet. What I am going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to retweak the skin just a little bit. And let's take a look at our vector scope. Okay, so the lips are up here in red, everything else is more or less down there, which is fine. I will just bring things up. There's kind of a greenish smudge here, which is within our key, but is not being hit by it too well, which annoys me. I kind of don't like whatever this is, this kind of green line. Let's see if there's anything we can do about that. Let's just see if we might be able... There we go. Just evening out those odd little green patches on the skin there. Let's just watch this through at full magnification. It definitely needs some noise reduction, but we'll get to that. Excellent, so we've got that odd little blue patch there. So, we're not able to use the face refiner on this, believe me, I've tried. It's not going to work, so we just need to do what we can, and I think it's mostly good. I just don't want it to jar too much with other examples later on. This is too yellow and too green, we will fix this. This needs a bit of beauty work as well, there's some quite visible skin detail here. On here, I would say this doesn't need any beauty work. She's kind of a little out of focus on this shot, and it does kind of hide some of the kind of sharp skin detail and the sharp blemishes, so we're not too bothered about that. The eyes are very naturally high contrast. The only thing I might do is try and kill this highlight on the upper right of her hair just a little bit. And we barely get a look at the jacket, so I'm not too bothered about that not being that colourful either. So that's fine. So, I just want to kill that highlight ever so slightly. And to do that, and that also has the pleasant side effect of getting rid of some of the shine on her forehead as well. There we go. And that's about it for that shot. Let's just watch it through. This is more or less okay. Let's just make sure that the blue's a nice match here. The shadow's a little bit elevated. I might just take them down slightly. There we go. Okay, one last thing I've just noticed. We've got the glowing ear problem. So let's go ahead and fix that. We know what this is, we've dealt with it lots of times before. Remember, the ear is thin skin, therefore translucent. You shine a light through a translucent red material, it looks like it glows red because only red light is getting through the translucent material, which is why the webs of fingers, ears and that tend to act out on camera. Very often they're just left in, but we're doing a kind of in-depth high-end pass here, so we need to fix that. It's a very simple key because it's much brighter and much more saturated than everything else in the image. If you take a look at this spot on the ear, you can clearly see its corresponding reading down on the vector scope. It's going to be very, very easy to isolate, so we're just going to go ahead and do that dead quickly. And all we need to do is bring the saturation down slightly, and then there we go. The ear does not glow anymore. So I'm pretty happy with this shot. I'm going to put a green flag on it. I'm going to green flag this one as well. We will come back to that, so always leave rotoscoping till the end. Actually, that's very bad practice. You should do rotoscoping as and when you have the time because it tends to overshoot, but I've not got a deadline on this. I'm doing it to teach people, so... Okay, this shot is already too bright, so let's take a look. And the skin is very yellow. And the jacket is kind of uneven, so there's going to be a fair amount of work. Shooting through glass is always a nightmare. So, let's just get our scopes back up. Oh, what I should do is I should make a new album. So that blue's a little bit strong and our contrast is all over the place, so... I'll kill that blue, make it a little steelier. And then we're going to bring everything down, add a bit of mood to it. Maybe bring this up slightly, give it a touch more colour. Oof, cracking knuckles. Right. Right, that's a much better overall match. She's a little dark, but we can bring her out. She doesn't move that much, which is good. She's too yellow. So... No, you know what? That's not good enough for me to raise the brightness at all. What I will do is I'm going to have to do that through some masks, which is absolutely fine. I will. Okay, that basic colour is there. I'm going to have to do a fair amount to this afterwards, though. So, first things first. I want a secondary on the jacket. I'm going to cut the face out with a secondary mask, of course I am. Going to cut the face out with the power window. It's okay, Sony Raw, but it's not red. And we will just make sure we don't get any interfering face detail in there. So I've now got my jacket, and then what I can do is I can pull another secondary for the face, but I'm going to get the jacket first. So I've only got my favorite effects showing, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the three dots up here and choose Show All, and now we are going to look at Color Compressor. There we go. So we've got a bit of variation going on in here, and I want to make sure we have a nice uniform yellow colour for the jacket. So now I can choose a colour from here, or what I can do is I can go to a shot where I like the colour of the jacket a bit more, and I like the lapel here. I'm going to take that still. It's always better to work from a real image as opposed to a colour swatch when you can, because you have real colours as opposed to kind of idealised hex references. Right, so... there it is. Target colour, we remember our cheat, pick screen colour. And this part of the lapel up here is great. I'm going to hit OK, and then we're done with that. So now, I can compress the hue. I can get the saturation. Now saturation isn't going to work because we have some very dark values here, but if I compress the hue, there we go. I now have a nice uniform yellow jacket, and I can whack up the saturation up there just a little bit. I want to make sure that I don't make those shadows go crazy, so I'm going to keep my shadows under control. Excellent. And then I just want to judge this up a little bit on the right hand side. Now let's just check and make sure I do actually have the right hand side in the key. Cool. So what I will then do, I'll make a parallel node. And I'm going to make... there we go. Let's just make sure we have that throughout and that nothing interferes. And that's fine. It's not going to come out and glow. It's just got to clearly be the same kind of color. It's going to have the same overall quality, and there's just a little bit of a tweak to the saturation there has helped us out. So our last parallel node in this array, this is getting a little bit difficult to keep under control, so I'm going to close my OFX window because I'm not going to use any others in this shot. What I will do... Am I done here? Yeah, I'm done there. I'm going to collapse all of those into a compound node. That gives me some fighting room, because I'm more or less confident that those nodes aren't going to have anything done. And then... Okay, it's still a little bit on the yellow side. Yeah, that's fine. Now I can't cheat the alpha on this one because it carries forward the mask, but because she barely moves, that's going to be fairly simple, and all I have to do and we will move it. And Face Refiner does kind of work on this shot. It's quite jittery, so I'm just gonna get the yellows here. There we go. Ever so slightly nudge them. Now she's through a window, so that is going to kill some of the colour, but she's otherwise a pretty good match for that, so I'm happy with that. Now she's quite dark and everything else is quite light. In the third pass, I think I'm going to tweak this parallel array, so I'm going to leave that as it is. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a vignette on the left-hand side, just so I can try and tie our audience's attention to her, because she is the subject here. It's going to be big and broad, and it's going to be quite mild. It's not going to be extreme. Always remember to invert these. There we go, and it just gives us a little bit, that might be a little bit extreme, there we go. Just gives us a little bit of extra focus on this subject in here, and I am happy with that now. So let's just make sure it cuts together. Okay, I think that's great. I will flag this clip as well. And you know the drill, we're going to keep going on, keep going through and through, and just make sure everything's okay. A lot of these aren't going to take as much time. We're just going to make sure that the blues match up. They're broadly in the right place already. We're going to spend our time on these shots. This shot does not cooperate with the Face Refiner, 3/4 angle, 2 faces, and it's a focus pull. So all things that the Face Refiner hates. He looks pretty good already. We might just add a little bit here. I might just tame this highlight on his brow there, which is a little bit fierce, and then just a little bit of contrast on the actress's face as well. The blue I'm pretty happy with. I'm not that bothered by the red shadow on his shirt on reflection. I think that's okay, and I like how his little kind of, whatever you call these things, these little kind of napkins come out, so that's cool. These are relatively simple. This is going to need some beauty work because there's a lot of sharp detail on her skin. And it's quite yellow and green towards the right-hand side. The jacket is not the colour we're used to. And then we've got this, which is a bit orange down here. We're going to have to sort it out. So we've got plenty of work to do, but mostly we're going to be spending the broad majority of our time on these shots. This needs work. This is going to be difficult, but we will get it there. So let's get the low-hanging fruit first. From X to Y, let's see what happens. That, I need a little bit of deflicker. So this is slow-mo photography, and we've got flickering in the bottom, so This is a new effect. I don't think I've done a demonstration on this effect before. The deflicker does what it says in the tin. If we get flickering from lights which are a little bit out of sync with the shutter angle or some slow-mo, I mean flickering is very, very common in slow-mo, we can fix it with this effect. So we're just going to drag deflicker onto this. Deflicker setting, time-lapse, speed optimization. Okay, and then let's just take a look. And it's done. The deflicker is very good. We're not going to go super in depth. Time lapses for slow-mo, fluoro light is fluorescent lights, advanced controls is all manual. Most of the time I get by on the time lapse because I deal with a lot of slow-mo in corporate video. Time lapse on deflicker is really good and fixes most things, and as you can see, it's fixed that. Just like that, dead easy. So that's all we need to know about flicker for now. Let's just see how these two cut together. Okay, that's quite nice. That's quite nice. Is there flickering in that one? We have a bit of flicker down there. So we can also tell resolve that it's only supposed to limit deflicker to a certain area, and that's worked beautifully. Let's just take a look at that. Okay, it's a little bit, but it's not as distracting as it was. And then I can just do the same. Okay, I'm going to save now because it looks like that's quite a big draw on the CPU. Okay, I just need to watch this at full resolution. Okay, this isn't going to need any noise reduction, which is a relief. Playback, I think I'm going to turn my render cache on, and I am going... Where is it gone? And I'm going to cache both of those nodes, and then I'll come back and check it in real time in a second. But until then, I can keep going. So there's a bit of a change in brightness between these two, which I'm okay with. It's very stylized lighting here, and it's all a bit montagey, so we can get away with a little bit more. The next shot, I think we're going to start working towards kind of a brighter kind of overall scheme, because we want to make sure that these shots make sense later on. So this shot, I do want to, I'll close open effects, I want this shot to be a bit brighter and more open, so I will. Start to do this. What I'll do is I'll go back, and from about here onwards I'm going to watch this part through once this shot is finished caching. So there to there is pretty good, there to there is pretty good, and then we're on this shot. I'm going to put a few more shadows in this shot just so we're a little bit more set up for what's coming. Because I want, there we go, I like all these dark shadows and the dark rich blues here, so I want to kind of set the eye up for that because that was a little bit bright. And that all comes together, and now we've got quite a nice spot here, so let's just take a look at how we're doing. It's going to take quite a while for it to cache that, because it is also caching in 4K, don't forget. Right, we now have these two nodes cached, so let's take a look. Okay, very, very slightly, and they're not in frame for very long, so good, that's pretty much fixed that. So, up to this shot here, let's see what we've got here. Okay, we've got a bit of flickering there. This is a shoot directly into light, so there's a healthy amount of bloom. So I don't want grounded shadows per se, although I would have another very mild pass at deflickering. Cool, there we go. Okay, let's see. Could we be deviating on our blues a little bit? Bring that down and get some more. There we go. And that, I think, could just use a touch more saturation. Okay, so let's just watch through what we have here, make sure we're happy with all the matching going on. We'll noise reduce that later. From there to there is good. That I'm happy with. That's good. That's good. That's also good. Okay, so I am happy with everything up to shot 11. We'll put green flags on that. Need to not forget about that, but we'll come back and do it later. Also, there's kind of yellow, green, you know, there's quite a lot of cleanup to do there. Okay, this shot. Now, this shot is already very good. I think what I might want to do is just add a little bit more emphasis on the face of the actress down here. And we will just see how well this can track. It should be fairly easy. Cool. So I'm going to leave his face alone. He's alright. Maybe he could do with a little bit of extra saturation. But here, bit of yellow, a little bit monotone. So let's just pull this up. And I do want some more contrast. We've got a bit of saturation in the shadows down there. So again, don't want it to go charcoaly, but just about there should do the trick. And let's make sure the yellow isn't too... what we really want. There we go, and that just gives us, so we've taken care of the yellow, it's a little bit more skin coloured. I will just make sure if we have a little bit of a kind of a sine curve or an S curve there, we maintain a bit of variation in hue so it's not completely monochromatic. I would like to get the face refiner on here and do, you know, forehead, cheeks and chin, but it's not going to work on this angle. And that's nice, she is now clearly our focus. What we might just do... actually, no. Not going to use an outside node. I'll use a layer node with the inverted key because I find it a little bit easier to keep track of. And just in here I am going to bring up the saturation of our reds a smidge, just so the other guy gets a bit of colour. Because he's looking a little bit washed out otherwise. There we go. Cool, now I'm not going to do anything else with vignetting or anything on there. Let's just take a look and make sure that we have... okay, maybe she's a little bit yellow still. I may... Okay, that's a shot which I have not yet finished off, so that's fine. So the colour is fine, the saturation on this shot is okay. I'm going to go and finish this in a second. So that's pretty good. Like everything else needs noise reduction. We will green flag that. This, this and this. Let's just watch them all through. Let's just watch it from back here and see what we've got. Let's just make sure we are actually seeing everything. Okay, that could do with a little bit more of a grounded shadow. Maybe a touch of saturation. Okay, we've got some flicker on here. Very slight flicker in that bokeh, but it's otherwise okay. And then to here and to here. So here we're going to have to do a bit of basic retouching. We're also going to have to do some beauty work on, at the very least, this angle. Maybe very slightly here. We're going to need to use the color compressor on the jacket over here. And I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and do a touch of roto on the skin on her chest here, because it does look a little bit jaundiced. So let's do that first. Curve, and I will make this inverted. Okay, so I'm still, because I know it's there, I'm still a little bit bugged by this patch of skin. I think in the real world it's not that significant, but you know what, I like detail. Let's go ahead and do that. It's going to need a bit of manual keyframing, this one, because it changes shape, so you can't just track it. Or can you? Okay, that's fine. Got a little bit of a problem on the hair back there. Or is it... Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, cool, that should fix that. Right, so we have everything we need. So I am going to use the color compressor to iron out the jacket. I need a key mixer to do that. What I need to do is I need to... Oh no, that's fine. I just need one key, my mistake. I forgot I had this in this first key here. So all I need to do is I need to take that alpha through there, and now on here, I need the color compressor. There we go. Now, the ideal color for the jacket we decided on was this lapel here, and once we've done this, we'll also go back and get this sorted. So, target color, roughly there. Notice how as we go along, we fix that, so let's just... Then, there we go, that's nice. And I might just be tempted to... It's looking just a tiny bit green to me. There we go. So now we've gotten rid of that kind of yellow-orange quality there, and it's a much cleaner colour. Because this exposes a bit of an imperfection in the key back there, I'm going to just... There we go. In fact, let's see if we can clean that out a little bit. There we go. Okay, that makes it harder to see. Cool, so we now have the jacket sorted. I'm very happy with that colour of jacket. I'm we're going to go through and make sure all of the jackets in this match. It's going to be particularly challenging on this shot, but we will get there even if we have to rotoscope it, don't you worry. So this is another one, bit of imperfection red down here. And then there's a lot of stock, which will be relatively quick to match up. Then such a small glimpse of it there, it doesn't matter. Okay, cool. So next is going to be the face. Now, in preparation for the face refiner, before I use this, I'm going to save just in case. Remember, the face refiner can cause a freeze. I want to sort out this yellow reflection here, so I'm going to go into the key for the face. And I am just going... Which is okay, if I make it a little bit more homogeneous now, I can introduce some more variety with the face refiner. It's just if I have a big yellow streak down the side there, it's going to stay there no matter what I do, which I would like to avoid because it looks a bit odd. So, face refiner, let's see. And it's going to work. It would be helpful if we could see the overlay, so let's make sure we can. Okay, that's a pretty good analysis. Like I said, as long as we can see both eyes, the face refiner tends to be alright. So now, we may even be able to get away with using some of the eye retouching here. So I'm going to buff up the contrast a little bit. Let's just take a look at our skin mask, actually. That's not great, is it? I tell you what then. Let's just make sure we have that analysis. Okay, we've got a much better mask that we're using from another node because the automatic skin keying is just a bizarre choice to me. I don't quite get it, so I'm actually going to put a little bit of beauty on here, maybe 0.1. Oops, that's 1.3, way too much. Just a little bit. Right, so I am going... I can bring up the colour ever so slightly. What we can do, we can just bring up a little bit of shine removal. Again, don't want to go too far. Cool. So we want the forehead to be yellow. We want the cheeks to be red. And we want the chin to be green or blue. There we go, got a bit of natural hue variation, and I'm going to go back to the eyes. That's a bit too much, but we can just go up to about there. A little bit of sharpening, a little bit of highlight. Very slight background now. I'm actually going to get rid of the beauty effect on here. Don't like what it's doing, I don't think it needs it. Those eyes are now just a little bit too much. There we go. Eyes are still a bit too much. Wow, sharpening is a very, very strong effect on this. Let's just go. Even that's too much. There we go, 0.005 for sharpening. Brightening. Can go down in the highlights. There we go, so now that we have a nice refined face there, we've got a nice focus on the eyes, we have hue variation, which is better, and we have a bit on the chin, we've got a nice uniform jacket, which is the correct colour, which is very good. So, this is getting a bit of a mess. So I've got a primary out and then a little bit of, excuse me, of a vignette to add, so I will get on with that. Let's just tweak the blue here ever so slightly. Okay, and I'm pretty happy with that. I go from there to there. That's pretty much ideal. I'm very happy with the skin, very happy with the jacket. The blue is good. So I'm happy with that. That's got a green flag. Let's sort this out. I'm just going to save. Now I've had issues with this particular shot kind of falling out with the face refiner before, so we'll see what happens, but what we need, let's just see what happens now. Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, it's about as easy as you can get for face analysis. So, let's take a look at beauty. Okay, that to me implies that our face mask is a bit naff. Let's take a look. Okay, use mask, use face mask. Okay, there's a little bit there which helps out the right hand side, but it really doesn't help out the left hand side. I'm going to have to pull a key on the left hand side and balance that out with a bit of other beauty, I think. But for now, let's carry on with the face refinement. Desaturate the shadows. And what we'll do is there we go, get rid of some shine removal. I think what I'm going to do of course that ain't going to work. So cheek is definitely a bit red. Cheek needs a bit of reddening, I should say. Forehead. Okay, this isn't working. This isn't working because the red side is picking a fight with everything else. No, that's not helping. That's alright, I think. We can do this largely by hand because the face refiner is not being particularly helpful this time. So, we've got our primary now. Now in this particular angle it's a bit backwards. The left hand side has gone red and the right hand side has gone yellow. So what we need to do is even this out a little bit, and then we can introduce variety of our own. But at the moment the left-right split is not working for me, it just looks weird. Okay, that's a bit more like it. So, next one. What I want to do is isolate the scarf. There we go. So it's not going to hit the hair, and I can now do that, so that's fine. That's still a little bit. There we go, that's more even. Okay, so forehead, cheeks, chin. So the first thing we want to do. Now everything is in more or less the right place. You know what, I'll do the colour compressor trick on this first. Now I want to be careful here because I've got green, so what I want to do is push the green out of this and keep just the yellow and the orange. So I'm going to make a backwards key. Ideally, what I want to do is get rid of the orange as well. Okay. So let's make a new still. Make sure we know which one it is. There we go, and now I've got that jacket in the right place. But I have some work to do on the face. Clearly super yellow, quite red, so I need to make this a better match. So let's get a match going on. Okay, that's getting there. What we need to do is take care of these glowing shadows. Okay, that's getting much closer now, isn't it? Tell you what, let's get the vector scope up and take a look. Right. Okay. Still needs to be. Okay, cool. Right, that's a good base. Let's just watch this through and make sure the track is all right. Okay, so we are now going to have to do our own thing, although I think the one thing the face refiner might be able to do with this one is the eyes, so let's just take a look and see if that works. We have to do a little bit of beauty work here as well. There's eyes. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's just play it through. Okay, fine. Just need to... because sharpening is super fierce on the face retoucher for some reason, on the face refiner, I should say. Okay. Right, we now need to sort out forehead and chin. So, see how much easier the face refiner makes this when it works. And it's a very slight variation we can introduce here. It could be 1 degree. And it just adds a little bit of interest. And then we can do the chin. I think the cheeks are red enough. And we want to avoid making the lips go green. That's probably going up a bit high. I think the chin. And there we go. And it just adds a tiny little bit of variety down there. And now we have one last thing to take care of. Let's just take a look. We've got a bit of primary out to take care of, but that's otherwise a pretty decent one. I might add a bit of a yellow splash down the left hand side just to make this match up. In fact, I'll do that in this node. Okay, I'm going to set up 2 nodes. Just bear with me because I want to make a compound node because this is getting difficult to organize now. So all of this I'm happy with. You, on the other hand, can give your alpha out there. I'm going to make a compound node. But I'm going to take the alpha out of the previous face mask. I'm going to put it in here, and in this node I'm going to do my beauty work, but I want that mask there, which is why I set that up on this one. I am just going to add my yellow splash back in, just so I have a little bit of Okay, there we go. I've just added that little bit of yellow splash down the left-hand side. Now, for beauty, and hopefully, because beauty can be a right faff, just a little touch on here can be okay. Cool, that's pretty good. So, now, finally just our primary out. And we might make our blue a little bit bluer. And a little bit of redness missing from the cheeks. So I think I will we want to make this super soft. Okay, and I'll just bring that down to 0.6. Let's maybe add a little bit of blush there. And that's now a much better red. And maybe now I just want to... Okay, that was a lot of work. But that's what happens when we get to the really important shots, so most other shots aren't going to take as long. Although, we have this one. This one, did they get out on this one? Ugh. A bit of green there. This one. Oh, and this. To take care of, so we still have a fair amount. I'm not forgetting right at the start as well, so... Right, let's see how these two play together. Good. Let me just proof check that jacket. Okay. Cool. Right. Full mag. Ish, really noisy, but we will fix that. Okay, so now all of these are more or less okay where they already are. But this, I'll come back to later, needs a lot of work. Okay, let's just save.